Lone Survivor is a 2013 American biographical war. Oh shit, sorry, wrong Wikipedia page. Lone Survivor is an indie survival horror game which was originally released in 2012 for Windows PC. It has been ported to many other platforms since, including PS3, PS4, Vita, and the Wii U. The game was developed almost exclusively by one person, Jasper Byrne. I don't know a huge amount about Jasper, but from playing Lone Survivor, one thing immediately becomes clear about him. He is a massive fan of Silent Hill. Everything about Lone Survivor, from its music to its monster designs, pays homage to Konami's legendary survival horror series. Unfortunately, being a 2D side-scrolling horror game with pixel art graphics, a lot of the horror found in the Silent Hill series is simply nowhere to be found here. That doesn't mean Lone Survivor can't be scary. It definitely caused me to jump on more than one occasion. But overall, the game really isn't that scary. Even people who are terrified of playing horror games should have no issue finishing this one. Lone Survivor still has a lot to offer, despite not being a very scary game. Like its story, Lone Survivor follows the story of a nameless man trapped in his apartment. At the beginning of the game, he fills us in on some of what has been happening. The man tells us that his apartment building has been overrun by strange creatures, and he is unsure if anyone else is alive in the area. He decides to go out to look for any potential survivors, because in his own words, he doesn't want to die alone. Right from the off, things start to get weird. The game begins on a stage of some kind, and why is he smiling? What is with that big stupid grin on his face? This is not the time to be. Oh yeah, I forgot. He's wearing a mask. But I'm sorry. I don't know if it was through poor character design or what, but his mask always looked like a weird smile to me, and it really took me out of the experience more than once. But don't worry, I realise it's a mask now, so I won't bring it up again. Jesus Christ, stop smiling at me! Anyways, the man continues to explore this strange area. He talks to a man who has a cardboard box for a head. He also comes across a dangerous creature. You know, the usual everyday shit. He then meets a strange girl. He can't see her face, yet she somehow seems familiar to him. She disappears, and a strange man appears from the shadows. The man then wakes up. Surprise! It was all a dream. But wait a minute. What if his apartment is also a dream? What if I'm dreaming right now? What if my YouTube channel isn't even real? I mean, how the hell do I have over 1,000 subscribers? No one even likes me. That's what my teachers used to tell me anyways. I mean, my dad told me my YouTube channel would be a massive failure. Maybe he was right. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah. The man awakens in his apartment and decides it's time to start looking for survivors. He takes whatever supplies he can find in his apartment and then sets off. It's a very interesting premise for a horror game. Right from the off, we don't know what mental state the survivor is in. For all we know, none of this is real, and everything we see in the game is simply the crazy ravings of a mental patient. Throughout the game, the survivor meets several people who all add weight to the idea that none of this is real. He enters one apartment where people seem to be partying. The survivor can't understand how anyone could possibly want to party during a time like this. But just a few moments later, the two men are dead and the woman vanishes into thin air. Did he imagine the party? The survivor also bumps into the strange girl in a blue dress multiple times. She seems to know the survivor and accuses him of not caring about her. Also, one thing I need to bring up about this scene is that the writing is kinda awkward in it. Who are you anyway? Yeah, that's right. I'm no one. So, leave me alone! In fact, a lot of the writing doesn't sound natural at all, and it kinda detracts from the overall story at times. Where did you come from? Did I appear from nowhere? I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know what you're saying, and I don't really like it either. I don't have much to say to you. Until we meet for the third time. Goodbye. It's not a deal breaker, but if you're expecting writing that's up there with The Last of Us, you aren't going to find it here. What you will find, however, is a very interesting story that will leave you with many questions to ponder once it's all over. Similar to Silent Hill, Lone Survivor features multiple endings. Which ending you receive depends on how well you take care of your mental health. In the game, I mean, not in real life. Although, you should take care of your mental health in real life too. Hashtag sanity for the win. You can improve your mental health by cooking food, not killing the various monsters wandering about, and by treating any survivors you meet with respect. The better your mental health by the end of the game, the better ending you'll receive. The harder to achieve endings will fill you in a lot more about what is really going on in this world, but I'll let you seek them out for yourselves. Now that we've talked about the game's story, it's time to talk gameplay. Lone Survivor plays like a very traditional survival horror game in a lot of ways. You have limited ammunition and health. You need to manage the battery life of your flashlight, because if it runs out while you're in the dark, you're pretty much screwed. On top of these survival mechanics, you also need to make sure the survivor gets a good night's sleep every now and again, as well as making sure to cook food for him when he gets hungry. It's a lot to juggle, and to be honest, it can kinda be overwhelming on a first playthrough. Also, similar to old school survival horror games, there is no auto-saving in Lone Survivor. When you die, you go back to your last save point. The only problem is, to save, you have to go to sleep, but if you sleep too often, your mental health is affected, so you really have to weigh up if it's worth saving, if it's going to affect the ending you get. Combat is nothing special. Your sole means of killing the monsters in this game is your pistol, but it's highly ineffective at times. It takes a good 3 headshots to kill the weakest creatures, and there simply isn't enough ammo in the game to take them all out, which means your best friend in this game will likely be your chunks of rotting meat. By placing meat in a certain area, you can lure a monster over there while you creep past it. It feels pretty good being stealthy in this game, and it's vital for reserving ammo and supplies. Unfortunately, the enemy roster in Lone Survivor is laughably small. You have these skinny guys, these fat guys, and a few boss characters. That's it. A few new monster types later in the game would have mixed things up significantly, but alas, this is all we get. Another minor disappointment are the lack of many diverse locations in the game. There's the apartment building, the city streets, and that's about it. I would have liked to have seen the hospital at the end be turned into a full location, like in Silent Hill or something, but I'm guessing the developers simply didn't have the time to add anything that substantial in. One thing that definitely isn't a disappointment, however, is the game's soundtrack. Many of the tracks in this game mimic the industrial and melancholic sound of Akira Yamaoka's best work. Listen to the track simply titled The Director, and you'll immediately understand what I mean. There are really only 2 boss fights in the entire game, and both are a big disappointment. The first is a chase sequence, which is a complete coin toss on whether you survive or not. You don't have time to check your map, and if you make even a single wrong turn, which is surprisingly easy to do, you'll die. The second boss fight is a simple fight where you simply shoot the monster in the shins a dozen or so times until she pisses off. Both boss encounters feel rushed, and were probably just thrown in there for the sake of having them. In a lot of ways, Lone Survivor feels a little rushed. The game simply doesn't have much content, whichever way you slice it. A regular playthrough will probably only take most players 3 to 4 hours, but it's an enjoyable 3 to 4 hours, and that's the main thing. Lone Survivor has a thought-provoking story, immersive gameplay, and an amazing soundtrack, and all those qualities combine to form what is easily one of the best indie survival horror games I've ever played.